Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Danielle Putnam. I'm the president of the New Flat Rate and really excited to have my good friend Ben Middleton on with me today. Ben is the National Sales Training Manager of Daikin Amana Goodman, Daikin Comfort Technologies. So, Ben, welcome. Thanks for joining today.
Danielle, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I know we've talked several times. We've done podcasts before, but just to be honest with our group here, Ben actually reached out to me directly this week and said, "Hey, can we jump online and talk about A2L refrigerants?" So if you want to start by saying, why was it such a big deal to jump on here and talk about this now?
Right now there's a lot going on with A2Ls. Most people are aware that we are transitioning from A1 refrigerants to A2Ls, and that's because of a mandate that we wanted a lower global warming potential refrigerant in order to help reduce greenhouse gases. And so the federal government passed some legislation actually quite a while ago, back in 2019. So they gave us plenty of runway, told us that these changes were going to be coming. And so we knew about it, and that we needed to reduce the global warming potential of the refrigerants that we use in our residential air conditioning systems for comfort cooling for the inhabitants that are in there. And Daikin, this isn't new, it's been happening globally. And so you've seen a lot of other countries adapt these rules and regulations earlier than we have. There's still some countries that are waiting to pass some legislation, but in the United States right now, these rules have been passed. And since these rules have been passed, manufacturers have had to decide what they were going to do. Early on, Daikin actually went to the whole entire industry, and for a bunch of different reasons, we said we really do believe R32 is the right way to go. Globally, it was kind of the accepted refrigerant. It was the refrigerant that many other countries had adopted, other manufacturers were utilizing. In 2012, Daikin started using R32 in Japan. And so we knew that it was a good, viable refrigerant, and we've got a lot of experience with it. In fact, there's over 280 million units installed worldwide that have this refrigerant inside of it. So
280 million is
yes,
plenty for a beta test.
that is.
I think it's proven.
So we definitely looked at it, and we said, this is where we want to go. And so we actually talked to many of the other manufacturers and said, this is the way that we believe is the right way to go. And we were just kind of waiting to see what the other manufacturers were going to say. Early on, Carrier said, well, we think we want to go 454B, which is fine. I've heard from a lot of people, they say, well, the reason Daikin went R32 is because they made R32, or they have a patent on R32, or somehow they own R32. Well, the fact is R32 is just a commodity. But 454B is made up of two components, R32 being about 70% of the mix. And then you've got 1234YF, which is the remainder, about 30% of the mix. And 1234YF actually does have a patent by Chemours and Honeywell. And so for that reason, Daikin was a little bit hesitant on the idea of going with something that has a patent and could potentially have limited production. And so that's why one of the reasons we thought R32 is good. And so in 2020, we actually released our first R32 product in North America. We started selling it in Florida. That was one of our ductless units, our Atmosphere unit. And so contractors have been putting R32 units in North America since 2020 through our ductless product. Then last summer, we actually started to release our unitary product. And whenever a manufacturer goes through a major change like this, it can be disruptive, because you're changing lines out, you're changing machinery, you're changing processes and how you build the equipment. And we, completely redid our equipment to maximize for all of the benefits and the characteristics of R32 that we have. So one of the benefits with R32 is its high BTU carrying capacity. So what that means to a contractor, to a homeowner, is we can use about 30% less refrigerant inside of a unit. That means smaller units. When I have gone and talked to contractors, we know that equipment is getting more and more efficient, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon. And the reason I always explain to contractors, it's not necessarily from an environmental standpoint, although I would say that is part of the reason, but it's from just a logistical standpoint. If you take a look at our country's grid and you take a look at the power production capacity that we have in North America, that's a limited supply. And people aren't going out and building a whole bunch of new power plants.
Right.
And so when you have that scenario, and we keep building more homes, and those homes keep consuming more energy, at some point in time, you hit a tipping point where we say, okay, we don't have enough energy to supply all the homes that are out there, or the grid can't handle all of the demand that is going in there. And that's why there's so many different programs going on, whether it be solar to kind of take some of the demand off of the grid, looking at other renewables to add power to the grid, looking at ways to increase efficiency so homes use less electricity, and increasing the insulation value on the home so they don't need as many BTUs to heat or cool the space. So all of those things are just kind of working together to kind of solve this very complex problem that we have. And so R32 allows us to deliver a smaller unit and deliver more efficiency. And that's a really big deal. Now, I will say 454B does allow a little bit less refrigerant because it's using more R32 in it. In fact, 410A is 50% R32 and 50% 134A. So contractors in a way have been using R32 for a long time, ever since we went to 410A. But the cool thing is R32 is a single component. So it's like going back to R22. It's a lot easier for contractors to work with. It is, it's something that I'm able to charge in liquid or gas phase. It's something that I can top off a unit, and I don't have to worry about glide and it potentially leaking at unequal rates. And so these are the reasons we chose to go with R32. But I'm going to just fast forward. So last year, we went through our changeover. And it's no secret to many of our customers that, yes, we did stumble a little bit, a couple steps along the way, making sure we had the right coils to match with the outdoor units when you make that switch. That can be a little bit of a tricky logistical nightmare. There was for a period of time, it was a little bit difficult to get R32 because they didn't have the right jugs for us to fill with R32 in North America.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so contractors, struggled. But the good news is we've gone through all of that, and our barns are just stocked full of equipment. We have plenty of R32 gas. Many of the other manufacturers that decided to go with 454B, they're now entering into kind of the same challenges that we went through last year. They're in the process of releasing their 454B product. And so navigating, making sure I have the right matchups, I have the right equipment, making sure that I train all of our contractors how to install this equipment that we're doing. And then there's also a shortage, again, on tank components for 454B, which is causing a huge shortage of 454B as contractors are going into it. And so what we're seeing right now is there are just some astronomical pricing on 454B if you can even get it.
Right.
And that is why I called you and I said, Danielle, I think we need to just get on the call and talk and let people know, yes, we're going through the transition. We kind of had our stumbling. The good news for contractors is that there is plenty of supply at the Goodman, Amana, Daikin distribution points. And, R32 being a commodity, we've got some very attractive pricing on a
Awesome.
refrigerant that we can use a lot less of.
Oh,
So,
and I was about to ask about that because when you said 30% less, I was like, well, what does that do for us cost wise?
yeah. So, I mean, not only is R32 priced at a very good price point per pound, but
Mm-hmm.
you just use less of it. Some other cool things that happen with this for those installers that are out there, if I can make your installs easier and you can be faster out on the job, that helps to save money for the consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the characteristics of R32, it has less friction inside the line set. That means I can use smaller line sets, and those are a lot easier to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it saves me money as a contractor
because
I don't need to buy the larger line sets. Means in many applications, if it's hard to get at the line set, they can reuse the existing line set. And so all of those things will really help a contractor out when it goes to replacing a system for a consumer or helping them with it. One of the things I've been talking to a lot of contractors about is I truly do believe most contractors want to do what's best for the consumer.
I do too. I hear it every day. Mm-hmm. I do too. I think that's what's so great about them in our industry is that it's people that want to serve and want to help, and they're good at what they do if we let them do that.
So when I think about it, we know 410A is being phased out. Mm-hmm. And it's got, we just went through another big phase down where they dropped it by another 40% of the production capacity. And so that's a combination of what is imported into the US and what is actually produced in the US as far as virgin refrigerant. And this brings us on to another topic. We can recycle 410A, and that will help us to have a supply to be able to service all of those 410A units that are out there. But we do know they're going to continue to step down the availability of 410A as we go into the future. And so if I'm sitting in front of a homeowner today and talking to them about changing their system out, I really got to stop and I have to pause and I have to think about a lot of things. Do I want to put a 410A system in that when it does potentially leak, what will the cost of the refrigerant be or the availability of that refrigerant for that customer when I need to go out there and service them? I mean, we take a look at where we're at with our 22 refrigerant right now. And a lot of times, it can be cost prohibitive to do the repair, and it moves that homeowner into replacing that system. And so if I really am trying to think for the homeowner, I want to give them the most efficient unit that they can afford. I want to give them something that's going to be easy to work on in the future. So a single component refrigerant can help with that, keeping those costs down. The fact that it uses less refrigerant, that means less refrigerant to put in. And the fact that it's a commodity and not a proprietary blend means that the pricing is going to remain relatively stable as far as being able to put that in. So having those conversations with the homeowner saying, hey, we can put in the old refrigerant. And if I can find a system still, because everybody's kind of running out of the inventory of the old 410A systems, or we can put it in with the new refrigerant that's going to be available for a long time. And it's going to have, it's going to be priced more affordably if we do have an issue in the future. A lot of manufacturers' warranties, they state right in the warranty, yes, we'll warranty the compressor or the repair of this part, but it says excluding any refrigerant that's used.
Okay.
And so I would definitely encourage contractors to read those warranties, fine print that's out there, and and understand that. So if I put a 410A system in, now I have to change the compressor out in the first 10 years. And let's say 410A does go way up in price. What's that going to do to the cost of that repair that the homeowner thought was under warranty?
Right. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you've got all those uncomfortable conversations and you got people mad and you didn't want to go that direction. And so It's instant peace of mind when they're able to have that conversation and talk about the piece of having the supply, not having the increased cost, not having to worry about those other things, and even bringing up the warranty in the beginning when they're sitting there at the kitchen table of, we know what we can do this way. This
Hmm.
one's a little unclear. And so
Yeah,
that peace of mind, to your point, I love that we've got to educate the technicians and educate, all these companies to know to have these conversations. And it's a good conversation to have because this is value that you're bringing to the homeowner with this.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and most homeowners I talk to, uh, I think the contractors have gotten a little bit. When we first heard we were going to A2Ls, everybody was very worried. Okay, it's a flammable
Hmm.
refrigerant. But I mean, I think as contractors started to look into it and understand what an A2L really is, um, there's not really anything to be worried about when the system's installed properly. Um, to my knowledge, and talking to many of our colleagues, again, going back to that 280 plus million units that are installed, there's not a
Hmm.
single fire incident or property damage related to an R32 system being installed in a residential application.
Well, you just even saying that, because I was going to say all the research that I've seen, the word is low flammability.
Yes.
And low is very significant right here. I mean, low flammability. And here you're saying we haven't had any residential issues. So that was a big proof. We've had a big enough sampling of proof here that this is
Yeah.
safe. Okay, good. What about, so we talked about costs. This is going to
Mm-hmm.
be more affordable for the companies, for the homeowners. And then installation safety wise for the technicians. Have we hit
Yeah.
enough on safety?
So, I mean, we've gone out, we've done these R32 road shows all across North America. And we're going to continue to have plenty of training available at all of our locations. But when it comes to safety, one of the things I joke around with the technicians about. So here, if you accidentally hit the coil with a screw while you're doing an install and you release the full charge into the customer's home, which we
Mhm.
know accidents happen. Here's
Sure.
what I want you to do. I want you to open the windows, turn on a fan, ventilate the space, walk out for a couple of minutes, come back, and you can continue on with your job. It's not a big deal. I mean, we're not running out. We're not calling the fire department. We're not, evacuating a city
Mhm.
block or anything like that. It's using common sense
Mhm.
when you're out there. Um, I get a lot of people saying, well, but I'm brazing with the system. Well, yeah, you're brazing, but you don't have refrigerant in the line when you're brazing. Hopefully you've got
Mhm.
nitrogen flowing through the line and you're brazing correctly. But there's nothing to worry about in terms of doing your install and putting it together. And
Mhm.
as an added safety precaution, we've added now the sensor that is at the coil that plugs right into the furnace board. And so if there is a leak in the system, what it's going to do is it's just going to turn on the fan. It's going to disperse the refrigerant throughout the whole entire space. And
Mhm.
what makes it an A2L, there's a couple of things that you have to look at. You have to look at burning velocity. So the burning velocity is very, very slow, the flame spread. I always tell everybody you could outwalk at a slow
Mhm.
pace the speed of the flame that it spreads. But the
Awesome.
other thing is it's a it's got a very high um, temperature at which it will ignite, and so even a toaster is
Mhm.
not going to get hot enough to be able to ignite that. And then you have to look at your lower flammability limit and your upper flammability limit.
Mhm.
And when you look at the lower flammability limit, it's quite high. So that means you have to have a very high concentration before
Mhm.
it can become combustible. And all of those characteristics are what makes it an A2L. It's very difficult to get the right mixture. It's very once you have the right mixture, you have to have a very high energy source to ignite it. And
Mhm.
then once it does ignite, it doesn't even burn hot enough to maintain a flame. So if you remove the ignition source from it, it will extinguish itself.
Wow. Yeah. That's fascinating. We should all feel really good. And 280
Yeah.
million people already went ahead and said, "Yeah, this is working great." I feel like they're building so many small houses, not tiny houses,
Yeah.
but so much more. I don't know if it's even economical, but it's just like, in city spaces, like, hey, we got a tiny plot here, let's put a house on
Mm,
it. And so just the things that you're saying, we've got smaller units, we've got smaller lines, all these things that we can do, and that's the direction that the homeowner's going, that the builders are going. And so this is all good.
yeah. And it gives us more efficiency. We use less
Hmm.
electricity, saves the homeowner some money,
Yeah.
um, allows the contractor to be more efficient in their install. Instead of having three people have to go and lift this unit over a fence that it
Hmm.
doesn't fit through, now we
Right.
can have potentially one person go out and do the install with smaller, lighter units.
And what would that do to our teams? That's interesting. Having one person go out, so then we can do that really affects our cost, that affects
Mm,
our profitability, big time, our
yeah.
profitability. Wow.
So we're super excited. I know on social media, I have seen all kinds of doom and gloom with all of the A2L changes and everything else
Hmm.
that's going on. And that's why I just wanted to call you because I'm
Yeah.
seeing all of this messaging going on out there. And I just wanted everybody to know, hey, it's okay. We've got plenty of supply. There's plenty
Yeah.
of product available. There's plenty of R32 available. So, talk to your local Goodman, Amana, Daikin distributor. We'll be more than happy to make sure that you have what you need to go out there and succeed.
Yeah, and it was awesome that you would admit, hey, last year you guys had a couple bumps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were like blazing a new trail.
Right.
There's gonna be a couple. Everybody has those every day in our businesses. So let's have a little bit of grace here. You blazed a completely new trail, and that was a year ago. And now, even when you said the supply houses are full, hey guys,
Mm-hmm.
we're planned for the future. We've worked out all the kinks. Supply houses are full, and it's just nothing but value. So this is exciting. And I agree of busting through that whole doom and gloom. It was a little bit separate topic, but I heard two contractors the other day say, I just feel good about this year. They're like, I know you're not supposed to just go on feeling. They're like, but this is a good year. I feel it. I was like, thank you for saying that
Yeah,
because we all need to recognize, wait a minute, we can all have a really good year here. So that mindset needs to shift.
absolutely.
Where can people go to learn more? I know that even my team printed me out some really cool flyers before our call, and I think they said they got it off y'all's website,
Well,
daikinapplied.com.
we've got plenty of information that out there. Daikin Applied, that's all of our big commercial industrial stuff. So I mean, there's some great stuff there. We've got Daikin Comfort Technologies that you can go to. There's some great information there. One great resource we built was r32reasons.com.
I remember that. That's right. I'm glad you said it again.
So they can go to r32reasons.com and see a ton of white papers, engineering data, all of the information that anybody wants to go in and read and see. And then, of course, the HVAC Learning Campus. You
Hmm.
can see all of the training that's coming up in your local market, stuff that we're doing across all of North America. You can register for classes and workshops there. You can request a workshop in your area if you don't see something that you want. We've got a lot of great on-demand training there. In fact, our R32 Roadshow, we recorded a whole entire event. So if you want to just sit down and watch that with your team, there's a lot of great tools and resources in that episode that we put together. The podcast that you've been on with
Hmm.
me,
Yeah.
Accelerated HVAC Success. I would encourage every contractor to just go to YouTube, type in
Hmm.
Accelerated HVAC Success, and hit follow. You don't have to watch every episode, but once a
Hmm.
week we put a new episode out there, and we've got a ton of topics on R32 and many other topics that we've talked about as well. So we've got a lot of resources that are available for contractors to help them succeed as we go through this transition.
Yeah, Ben and his team have done such a good job at thinking about educating everybody and making sure that everybody's prepared. So, um, nice job at that. And just like you say, just subscribe, follow so that you get the reminders up in your feed
Mhm.
of, wait a minute, here's a new video and something that I can learn and share with your team. You don't have to come up with all
Absolutely.
kinds of training content for your teams. Ben's already done all the work for you. So, thank you, Ben, for doing what you're doing for the industry. Thanks for bringing all of this information to us so that we can be prepared.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on this with us real quick.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the message out there. I too, I believe this is going to be a phenomenal year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great opportunities that are available for the contractors that are continuing to embrace change and
Yeah.
are blazing the trail and leading out there. And rather than sticking your head in the sand,
Mm-hmm.
get out there and look for the opportunities. There are so many exciting things happening that I think are great opportunities to drive new business in 2025 as we roll into the summer season.
Yeah, me too. It's exciting. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ben. We'll
All
put
right,
all of
thank you.
your links in the show notes, so everybody look below and make sure to follow.